Here we go. 4:33, quick look at traffic and weather together. Traffic brought to you by the North Carolina Botanical Garden. They got a cool event coming up this Saturday. It's got an accident reported on 40 westbound right by Davis Drive. Not causing any delays, and the accident's been moved off to the shoulder, but just be careful as you're heading that way. Again, that's westbound, heading from Raleigh toward Durham. Eastbound traffic on 40 is a little bit heavy in that stretch from NC 55 until you're past Harrison Avenue. You'll see some slowdowns. That's your usual 5 o'clock traffic already starting to heat up. Sticking around Chapel Hill, Carrboro, no traffic to speak of if you're staying around town, but if you're heading into Chapel Hill from Durham, watch for traffic right on 15501 between Southwest Durham Drive and Mount Moriah. A little bit of a backup there because of an earlier accident. Elsewhere in Durham, Durham Freeway southbound, already a little bit slow through downtown until you're past Alston Ave. And continue to watch for delays on 751. NCDOT tweeting that the road was closed, and this is way out in the northwestern part of town between 15501 and Curlew Road. That is from an earlier accident from last hour. So avoid that stretch of 751 if possible, if you happen to be heading that way. See anything we're not reporting, send us a tweet at WCHL Chapelboro when it's safe to do so and let us know what's going on. And check out the North Carolina Botanical Gardens Native Plant Sale and Festival coming up this Saturday, the 4th, from 2 to 7 p.m. with local plant vendors, family activities, environmental groups, food trucks, and more. Get all the details you need online at ncbg.unc.edu. Weather brought to you by the Ackland Art Museum. Coming up this weekend, we've got a little bit of rain, but it's going to be beautiful between now and then. 87 degrees in Chapel Hill, Carrboro right now with mostly sunny skies. Partly cloudy tonight with lows around 62. And then a few clouds, but no rain for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to wrap up the week. We'll have highs in the mid-80s. Again, off and on rain possible this weekend, so plan accordingly for that. But if you got outdoor plans, you should be able to get those in. A lot of cool things happening this weekend. More on those as we get closer to Saturday and Sunday. Hey, you're looking for a unique place for gifts, housewares, and books? Check out the Ackland Art Museum store. They've got products related to both the permanent and changing exhibitions, including pottery, textiles, and children's toys, plus a wide range of books, including those by UNC and regional authors. Look close, think far, and shop local. Coming up during the 5 o'clock hour, much more on the hiring of Courtney Banghart as UNC's new head women's basketball coach. We'll hear both from Banghart herself as well as athletic director Bubba Cunningham. And then at 6 o'clock, we'll send the broadcast down the road to Bosch Amber Stadium. Tar Heel baseball taking on Liberty tonight. All right, now it's time for the Chatham County Roundup, presented by Weaver Street Realty, specializing in local real estate since 1982. Every story is set somewhere. Theirs is right here. And we are joined right here by Aaron Hall, as always, to help us out with Chatham County Roundup today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. It's a beautiful day.
It is. You know, when your local paper is starving for content,
they put you
and they have to go searching for that. For those of you driving by, you can hear this. For those of you watching the live stream, so I want to say thank you, because apparently they needed guests, or the puppies needed more paper.
We're talking about the Chatham News and Record.
That's right,
here,
the Chatham News and Record. Thank you for the article for the Chatham News and Record this past week.
It's an article about Aaron, by the way.
That's right. Thank you. You can't see that.
Everything. It's nice.
So I appreciate that, and that brings me. That's for a bit of levity and lightness as we bring to the Chatham County Roundup. Ladies and gentlemen, won't you welcome from the Chatham News and Record, Mr. Zach Horner. Zach, how are you?
Doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on. Talk about the weather. It's hot, y'all.
It's real hot,
so
right?
hot.
No one's complaining it's hot when it was icing and cold not too long ago,
They just skipped spring, and we're right in summer.
I'm still doing okay because we haven't turned our AC on yet. We're really hoping to make it to May 1st. All month long, we're like, we're going to make it to May. We're going to make it to May. And we are going to make it to May. It's great.
I got 2 words,
but
ceiling fan.
No, that's what we got. 12:01 a.m. tomorrow morning. That AC is going on.
So we got some serious stuff happening here in Chatham News and Record. You're doing a series on something that is very serious in Chatham County, throughout North Carolina, and unfortunately nationwide. And it is the growing opioid addiction. Take it away, Zach, and tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so I think there's no area that is untouched by opioid addiction at this point. It's been a topic of conversation at the federal level, at the state level. And starting locally in Chatham County, last month, the Chatham County Library in Pittsburgh hosted a conversation about the opioid addiction, how it affects Chatham County. So heard from law enforcement officials, health department officials, and individuals and families that have been affected by the opioid crisis. And so kind of inspired by one of those events that took place in Goldston, I was like, okay, I want to kind of dive into, the roots of it and just kind of hit all the different pieces, how this happened nationally, how it and how it got to Chatham County, and it's been good so far. There's a lot to it.
And you said it's growing. Is it still growing, the crisis, the addiction level?
Yeah, I think the reports are saying the number of prescriptions pills per 100 people is going down. In Chatham County, the numbers are lower than the state and national average, but it's fascinating to me that even though there's that there's a decrease, and even a lower level in Chatham County, all these people are still investing time and effort into trying to educate people and trying to educate people about the dangers of addiction, the dangers of misusing opioids, because opioids serve a purpose in helping to relieve pain, but they're used in the wrong way, just like any substance, really. It can be dangerous and even deadly. So that's what's kind of caught my eye.
And how the availability has, out of nowhere, the term that's used, I know in areas where I grew up, are pill mills, where basically the abundance of pills that have been flooded to the market, which these are supposed to be coming through prescriptions. So we have to ask the obvious. I'm not as bright as you guys, so I have to ask the obvious. If they're prescription, how are they getting flooded so much on the streets? And then when we even take it there, I must say that as we begin to unlayer this onion, back in the 80s when there was an epidemic called crack, and it wasn't this attention paid to it, whereby people could now use their insurance for opioid addiction. There were clinics in opioid addiction. So when we start talking about addiction, our nation has faced this before. I wish then, instead of just putting people in jail or calling people derogatory names, we would have had the same unctuousness that we do to want to get forward.
And not
with
even
this,
just crack, heroin, which is an opioid.
Sure.
Like, we've been through this exact same thing before. And
so what's the difference now? What is the difference now?
Yeah, I think people are. I don't know if I'm only 26. So I haven't been around as long as y'all, but I think the difference is.
I looked at Aaron.
He's talking about the 80s. I'm like, I wasn't alive in the 80s to take a breath.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, Felicia.
I think there's more of an awareness about the stigma that comes with any kind of addiction, and about people treat mental health alongside substance use. And I think as someone personally who's been invested in learning about and trying to help people understand mental health, I was on your show a couple months ago, Aaron, about Latinx teen mental health in Chatham County. I think there's more of an awareness that opioid addiction it's a disease. It's not just some kind of mental personal character flaw or just this little decision. It's something that actually alters your biochemistry and changes who you are, so that you need it to feel okay, to feel normal. And reading about this, what happens with opioids is that you feel pain, and then you take the opioids to relieve the pain. Then after a while, the pain becomes so intense if you don't have the opioids that you just need the opioids just to get back to the normal level of pain. That's the way that it changes your brain.
And it's a vicious cycle.
It is. And that's where, we talk about pills. There are a lot of pills just out there that people, they took the pills they needed, they didn't use them, and so they're just sitting in medicine cabinets. And there's been a lot of focus in Chatham County on creating these drop-off sites where you can come and drop off your leftover pills so they don't get in the wrong hands. And then you mentioned heroin. When people run out of pills or they can't get another prescription, heroin's the next step. Heroin, like you said, Aaron, heroin is an opioid. It's a derivative of morphine that is so much more powerful and even more deadly.
I was speaking about the pills that get prescribed. Part of the problem, too, is overprescription, right?
Yeah.
People are initially getting prescribed way, way more than they need, and then they have all of these left over.
Definitely. And there's been work at the state level, the STOP Act last year or year before, pushed by Attorney General Josh Stein, as far as trying to reduce the number of pills that can be prescribed on the first level or the first instance. And so that is another thing that nationally is just so many more opioid pills than needed. Chatham County, the number's pretty good, but Lee County, where I'm from, there's more than 100. Last year, there were more than 100 prescription pills out there per 100 people. So there was more pills than people in Lee County, which is just south of Chatham County. It's right there next door. So it shows you that overprescription is just as much of an
And
issue.
those are prescription pills you're talking about. This isn't over the counter.
Yeah, these are legally prescribed pills.
Wow.
And so here's the big question. What do the pharmaceutical companies say about this? Not to put you on the spot to speak for them, but you are a reporter.
I was about to say I can't speak for them, but what we've seen a lot of is kind of a lot of settlements. The companies, counties, states will sue and they'll settle for and say denying any wrongdoing, but we'll settle and we'll pay this many $1 million. So it's kind of tricky because that is their bread and butter, and in a way they are providing a service because again legally prescribed opioids do serve a function of helping people deal with pain, but it's when it goes too far, and there's obviously been a lot written by smarter people than me about how the companies didn't realize or weren't honest about how addictive they were, and so they deceived people. And that helped get this kind of crisis kicked off.
I think part of the issue too is we've kind of been down this road before with big tobacco, right? We've got these cigarette companies that market a product that they know is unhealthy, and they do it deceptively and dishonestly, and then there's the reckoning that finally comes in the 90s and 2000s. This is different because opioids do actually serve a valid function if they're not misused or overused or abused. It's that part of it that was the information.
Right. It's tricky because it's nuanced. It's not just straightforward. Like this is illegal. This is shown over and over to be bad for you. It's the amount of opioids you use. I mean, even heroin, when it was first created, was legal and sold over the counter as a cough suppressant.
Yep.
That was something I learned. I was like, what? Like that's just
and
unreal.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just stuff that was like unreal for me. And maybe it's just not learning about it earlier. But I was like, this is kind of crazy.
So what is the education that's happening in Chatham County to reach young people so that they can be aware, be educated?
Yeah, well, I think young people is. We had part one of the series last week, part two this week, and then part three the week after. And I'm going to be writing about how the youth they have issues with opioids, but their big issue for them is it's called benzodiazepines. I think I said that right.
Benzos. Yeah, those were like big in the 60s, I think.
Yeah, well, medicines like Xanax, Vicodin, that kind of thing.
They have that in there. That's the active ingredient.
Right. So a lot of times those medicines get paired with opioids, and that becomes even more dangerous. 30% of more than 30% of overdoses involving opioids also involved benzos in the last year, according to the CDC. So I think that is a big concern for the school system. Just talking to officials there, they're like, we understand like opioids is a problem, and we're taking a look at it. 17% of Chatham County students in a survey 2 years ago said that they had used prescription pills either differently than a doctor had told them or without a prescription. At least once in their lifetime, up from 11% 3 years before. But they're also really kind of keying in on benzos. Xanax, Valium, as far as they say, this is getting popularized in media, and kids are seeing this and saying, okay, this is cool. I can do this. And again, it's those medicines that serve a purpose. Xanax and Valium can help with anxiety or with insomnia, but it's using them improperly is the dangerous part, and what I think the education focus is saying, hey, look, this isn't something you mess around with. This isn't something you play with. This is something that serves a purpose, and using it wrongly could cost you your life.
And not to sound like the old man in the room, but you made a point.
That's okay.
You did make a point that, do we glorify the usage of these things? I know in some of the music that I don't listen to these days, but that's out there, you do hear a glorification of, very visibly, when you hear these lyrics, people are doing some drugs and mixing some cocktails of drugs and all of that. Where does that fit into it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think to solve that would be above my pay grade. But I think there's one thing that I've really been interested in as I've been researching this story is the problem of pain. Is the psychology of pain and how pain is something we all have, and we haven't always found the right way to deal with it. Medicines and that can be great and can be helps, but if we rely on them to solve our pain, to fix our pain, we very well could be going down the wrong road. Obviously not in every circumstance, but some circumstances. So I think you mentioned glorifying things. Glorifying any substance is tricky and dangerous in any situation, and obviously that's a longer conversation. But I think it's about finding ways to deal with pain, finding ways to deal with mental health issues. Talking about these benzos are for mental health issues. And oftentimes, kids don't want to talk about that. They don't want to have those conversations. And so they'll just go to the medicine. And so I think if we're really going to solve this, I think it involves just talking about it openly and killing that stigma we talked about earlier, killing that kind of bad association with addiction. Is a lot of time people don't get addicted because they want to, just because they're looking for help.
And there's a event happening next Wednesday that we were just talking about at the library that isn't about opioid addiction, but it is about the discrepancy in wage earning. And we talk about anesthetizing pain. When people are anesthetizing mental pain, physical pain, pain to feel that they're not necessarily socioeconomically where they are, all of that, these aren't separate issues. These are joined issues, I believe.
Yeah, it's all connected. Any kind of pain is not always found it's not out of one incident. It's usually built up in something. So as I was talking about the psychology of pain, there was a study done by a couple of ER doctors. And what they talked about is that the physical, or the part of your brain which accesses pain is the same that is associated with social rejection. It's like if you get dumped or, you get made fun of in a group, like that's the same psychological response to pain. And that sucks.
Yeah.
When that happens, that's just the worst feeling ever. And so you want to find something to fix that. And again, I think it's not that we outlaw opioids or say that they shouldn't be in existence. It's learning how to use them properly and also finding other outlets to heal some pain.
I do like the fact that the conversation is now being had about eliminating that stigma and talking about it. We started this show an hour and a half ago by talking with Rain Bennett. He's got an event coming up in Durham, a series of storytelling events beginning tomorrow, and it's all about health. It's all about mental health and physical health and economic health, and the fact that they all connect to each other, the fact that mental health affects physical health, affects socioeconomic health, and so on. And this is that same conversation, just in a different form.
Definitely. And I think with one thing we're seeing with opioid addiction is that treatment, which is incredibly necessary for a lot of people, is expensive. And I think we're starting, Aaron, you kind of pivoted this earlier, is that there are some insurance companies who are saying, okay, we're going to help you with this. We're going to point you in this direction. We're going to provide you some help there. But, that's not totally there yet. Even for mental health, even for counseling visits and treatment of anxiety and depression, that's not as prevalent as it is for anything else. And I've told people in the past, my family, I personally struggle with depression and anxiety a lot, and I've told them, it's like, this is just like any other sickness. Like if I broke my leg, it's the same exact thing.
So I'm going to say this because I found this out last week at the Orange County reentry event, is that Chatham County Orange County just got approved, and I think Chatham as well, for what's called the FIT program, which is insurance for people who've been incarcerated, who may have come out and need to stay on a medication or need some sort of mental health. There is insurance for them. So to the point of what you're both are saying, it has to be an effort where you have all parts of the community coming in. And so the FIT program is one in Chatham and Orange that helps to meet that. So there are people on the ground who are doing those works, all right?
Definitely. I think that's happening at the national and state level as well.
Zach, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I just with just efforts on the national level with President Trump declaring it a national health emergency a couple years ago, just getting the conversation started there. And then the governor and attorney general put a lot of effort behind that as well.
So we've had part 1 of the series. We're on part 2, and there's a part 3. Tell us about them and when to expect them again, and where people can find it to stay on track with this.
Definitely. So part 1 is on ChathamNewsRecord.com right now. It's the series is called The Problem. And so part 1, What is the Problem, is online right now. Part 2 will be in the paper this week. Will be on newsstands around Chatham County tomorrow. And then part 3 will be out May 9th, the week after that one. Focuses more specifically on how is the problem affecting Chatham County. What are the really specific issues that we're seeing in Pittsburgh, Siler City, and the surrounding areas. There's also going to be a part 4 and 5 as well. So 5.
Well, we're going to track all that with you, and it's great that you're doing that. And this is real community work that hopefully will have a national and global effect to the conversation.
Well, thank you. I've been really blessed to have people who've been willing to talk and people willing to share, and it's good to see people care about something like this, especially, and I'll say this again, about the stigma about the mental health part, because that's huge. That's half the battle.
Agreed.
Check it out on Chatham News and Record. This has been the Chatham County Roundup, made possible by Weaver Street Realty, specializing in local real estate since 1982. Every story set somewhere. Theirs is right here. You can find them online at weaverstreetrealty.com. And Zach, people want the Chatham News and Record online with your website.
ChathamNewsRecord.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well.
Go there for more. Zach Horner, Aaron Hall, thank you so much.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Aaron. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
453, your hometown hero up next.